The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, boys, welcome back. Couple week hiatus here. 1 week, not our fault. The other week, totally probably my fault. I just didn't feel like doing a show last week. Fun meter was kind of pegged a little bit burnt out, but we're back bringing you episode, I guess, 243, 242 and a half. Not sure what we'll call it because that one didn't get posted. It is what it is, but the One to Go show, as always, I'm Ryan Aho. That is the one and only Coach Kraus over in Alexandria, Minnesota, and the legendary Bert Lehman over in Eastern Wisconsin. A little bit nervous there, Coach Kraus. Of course, that is not, just for everybody, that is not Packer green. A little too close for comfort. It's not Packer green. Coach, what is that green? What is that, like a blizzard deal? Or what do you got going on there?
Well, the first off, the Packer green, we all know what that Packer green is, okay? It's
waste management
completely
colors.
different. No,
Yeah,
we got some blizzard stuff. We got some green stuff. We got some apparel and some sweatshirts. We've had a green, actual forest, or not a, we wouldn't call it a forest green, but a Kelly green is what we call it. Actually, the cool green, not the loser green like the Packers got over there. So got to wear green for the good cause anyway.
Yeah, I tell you what, yeah, it's hard to call them losers, although the Vikes did beat them the first time here. But the NFC North, for all you football fans, is without question the most powerful, dominant division in all of football right now. Four looks like really good teams, so she's going to be a Donnybrook, that's for sure. But episode 243 brought to you, let's start out with this, Impact Health Sharing. So for those of you that are looking for health insurance, open enrollment basically here, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that are transitioning over to something different. This is the time to do it. Now, Impact Health Sharing, just so you know, you can actually sign up for that at any time. There is no enrollment period. So even if you do sign up for a traditional health insurance and you want to just take a look at what Impact has to offer, give me a text, give me a call, 218-969-1380. Hit me up on Messenger. I can get you a no obligation quote to see if we can save you some money. Great deductibles. You can go to any doctor, and they just added a deal where we now have dental and vision coverage as well. So a lot of good things happening with Impact Health Sharing. And just for people that are wondering, just a rough estimate, for a family coming in around $650 a month and a $2,500 household deductible, not individual, that's for the whole household. So if you got 3-4 kiddos running around there, that $2,500, you can spend that really quick. Hit me up, see if we can help you out. That's Impact Health Sharing, and I've been able to help a lot of people already. So guys, there's racing's dwindling down here. You know, what have you guys been up to here the last couple of weeks? You know, really quick before we get into the show here. Bert, no racing really going on in your neck of the woods. What's been keeping Bert Lehman busy here the past couple of weeks?
Well, there's been some racing in Eastern Wisconsin, but I haven't gone to any of it. Last week was a long week for me. My mom had a heart valve replaced on last Monday. Not open heart surgery, but they go in and I don't know. It's crazy what they can do. But the next day they realized that they discovered that she had a mild stroke during her procedure. So I was visiting her a lot last week. She's in a rehab center right now. Last week, physical therapy told her that they think that she should be able to go home in like 10 days or so. So hopefully they're correct in that. Luckily, it was very mild. So
Yeah, no stroke is a good stroke, but at least they caught it, right? It didn't transition
Yeah.
anything more. Of course, we're keeping your mom in our prayers for sure. And, glad everything went well with the procedure there. And hopefully she can get back up and running here soon and kind of give you some grief. Because if we're not here every day to do it, she might as well give you some grief once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Coach Kraus, you guys winning? What are you doing? So last we talked, I mean, you guys, you got a hockey team, but your bus breaks down. You don't really play hockey because you don't even get to the games. Gonna have to schedule all home games, so you don't have to travel. How's the season going for the Alexandria Blizzard?
Well, we're sitting 4-4 right now. So, but we haven't had any cupcake games for the most part. So we're playing good hockey. I don't think you can. I'm going to use a racing analogy here. So Friday night we're playing Granite City, the first place team, and we're going into turn 4 for the checkers, and we didn't win. So that's basically a racing analogy. We were up 3-1 with 5 minutes to go, and we lost. So that's how my Friday started. Was not happy. Good team. Granite's undefeated. They're 7-0. We should have beat them, and we didn't. So lesson learned. We won Saturday, and then went down to Rochester. We had 3 games this weekend. Went down to Rochester and lost 4-3. Probably the best game we played all year, and we lost 4-3. So Rochester's another really good team. So they're top team in the league too. So we're playing well. Just need to get some more wins under our belt and get some more chemistry. But yeah, lost a wheel coming out of turn 4 on Friday. Someone forgot to tighten the lug nuts, Bert, and we ended up losing. So, but it's hockey season. We're full swing. So we had 3 games this last weekend and not a lot of time off. We're right back at it. A little slower day on Monday, but now we're right back at it, getting ready to go for the weekend.
Was that a home game that you kind of let slip away, or a road game, or?
Yeah, it was a home game. That's not allowed on my team. We don't do that at home. We don't pull the Dallas Cowboys and go winless at home, and then choke and get beat 47-9 at home like the Cowboys do at home. So that's not how we roll. We got a really good record at home, and you know how it is with sports. It's home and away. You got to take care of your home turf. So we were up. Unfortunate lesson learned. I told the guys that we're going to learn our lesson, and we're going to not let that happen again.
You're gonna have to watch Miracle, Coach, and you're gonna have, when they let one slip away like that, be like, all right, here's the deal. Give me the whistle. We're not done here. Game's over. Everybody can go home. Keep your sorry asses. You don't want to play during the game. You can skate now, right? Is that how that deal works? And then when the crowd starts chirping you because you're letting one slip away, when you win, then do you turn around and start chirping back at the crowd like Sirianni did for the Eagles? I mean, how's this all work? Do you do that, or?
Oh, no, you keep the media out of it. You don't threaten to fire media people like Jerry Jones did today or yesterday or whatever that was. So, no, you don't do that kind of stuff. Like I said, you just make sure you don't let it happen again.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually spent the weekend down in, I guess, up in northern Wisconsin. I was up in Siren. Congratulations, bromance. So Mike and Amanda Bromwich, they got married this past weekend. I was up there, of course, with Dano and Worker Bee from our Pick'ems contest. All 4 of us up there representing the One to Go show, and had a heck of a good time. And not your typical wedding, guys. So the wedding gets done, right? And they have the bride dances with her dad, and they kind of got them dances going on. And then as soon as that was done, there's 50 of us or whatever. I mean, quite a few of us sitting around TVs watching racing. It wasn't your typical dance. Carlos, I got to ask you this, right? Would Tracy let that shit slide, right? If there's a wedding going on, and would it be like, no, we're dancing, we're formal, there's music playing, we're doing that? Or would she be like, I know everybody's a racer here, you're going to sit and watch racing, we have Brownstown on, we had Fergus Falls on. Would she let that slide, or would she kind of nip that in the butt?
No, you know that wouldn't happen, especially these days. So yeah, no, that wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be watching. It'd be all about the wedding, and it's their day. It's their day, so they can do what they want to do.
Yeah, everyone had a good time though. Hey, at the end of the day, they set the TV up. Mike did, right? So Bromance set it up. We watched, and everybody had a good time. That was fun. Not a lot of. No drama that I know of, so that was good. Tried to get around the golf in there with Dan, but Mother Nature came in and had a tee time set for 8:30 in the morning. And first of all, if you all know me, 8:30 in the morning, not my cup of tea, not a fan, don't really like it. Let alone when it's like 40 degrees and raining outside at 8:30 in the morning. That was kind of hell to the no. I'm going back to bed, and went to the wedding. So got to see a lot of people, had a fun time. Oh, I got one for you. So get this, the pastor, right? The pastor that officiated the wedding, best man, who's the one guy that we gave the most shit to this year on the show, or especially me. Okay, other than Billy, because we like to hammer on Billy. Who's the one guy that we put the hammer down and just are like, this fucking guy, right? Coach, who is it?
Well, that doesn't narrow it down. You hammer
Oh,
on
it
people.
sure does. It sure does. Well, there's one person that comes to mind this year, exclusive to this year. There's one guy that we're like, this fucking guy is worse than Billy. Are you shitting me?
Worse than Billy?
Pogo Chicken.
That's his name. That's his name. Yes.
Yeah. So the pastor, right, was best man in Pogo's wedding. So he's like, just so you know, I was listening to the show all the time, right? He's a former racer, Toby Patchen. He goes, I don't know, you're kind of picking on my buddy there. He goes, I got to be honest though, you're mostly right though, so kind of keep it going, he said. But yeah, he's a former racer. The pastor at the wedding, actually best man in Pogo's wedding, and he's like, you got to keep giving it to him. You got to keep hammering him on it. So don't worry, we will. That's what we're here for. So that was kind of an interesting deal. That was kind of funny. But WISSOTA season, guys, done. There's one more race left. Of course, we got the topless coming up. That is for you perverts out there. Cars are topless. Well, maybe. Depends how warm it is. There might be some topless chicks after the races. Who knows? It is a racetrack. But the cars are topless, right? At Ogilvy, that's the final race. Not WISSOTA. It's a non-point race. But we got to give a shout out to the national champs here in WISSOTA. And I got a little Bert, I know that you don't know a lot of the classes here, but just play along with the classes that you do know a little bit about. And I'm going to say who the champ was. And I want you guys to say, I'm going to just ask, did the best car win? Okay, when you look at it all year long, sometimes a person that wins a national champion, wherever that guy goes, they flat out dominate. They were the best car no matter what all year long. I want your thoughts. Was that the case? Or were there other drivers that maybe were better, but they didn't really race for points? Or was there 3-4 that were maybe in the mix that it wasn't quite, exclusive to that one driver? And who else comes to mind here? So late models, of course, second year in a row, the one TPO, Tyler Peterson, another big year for TPO. Few good drivers out there in the late models. I tell you what, we have, I think, more depth in the WISSOTA late model class than we've had in a while. There's some pretty darn good hot rods out there. Let me ask you guys this. Was TPO the clear-cut best car all year long? Or was he maybe not quite as good as he was in 2023? Your guys' thoughts?
Well, I think over the course of the entire year, I think he was based on what I know about it. I think he was the best car over the course of the year. But I think at the end of the year, it was definitely Sabraski who was the class of the late model field. So now, did Sabraski start? I can't remember. Did he start in a late model at the beginning of the season? Okay, all right. Yep. So I mean, he did. So it probably took him just a little bit to get accustomed to it. But I mean, I think by the end of the year, I think Sabraski was more on top of his game than TPO was.
Coach Kraus, anyone else stick out to you other than, of course, the 7A? When the money was on the line, right? The big money races this year, the 7A was the guy to beat, right? I mean, you look at the races he won, the Wasilewski Memorial, 15,000, the XR Northern Storm. He won, I guess the border battle was in the mod. He won the WISSOTA 100, right? So you look at all these big races that he won, boy, he was good, right? Was there anyone else that you'd add into this conversation and remember, the tough thing is with WISSOTA is these guys don't all race against each other every night. Was there maybe an outlier here that maybe these guys didn't see?
Boy, I think TPO, answer the question, TPO I think was the best car all year. I mean, you'd have to, Cole Searing probably wins it if he runs more than 32 shows. I ran 32 shows. TPO ran 50. Sabraski ran 46. So I think that would have played into it. Especially, I think those guys really, when the Challenge Series rolled around, that's when the big boys are at. And TPO and Searing duked that out for the Challenge Series deal. But Chad Becker's always in the mix, and you can't fault the South Dakota guys race against these guys, and you hear all the Wisconsin guy. Well, I don't think that was the case this year, because we had a lot of shows where everybody was racing against a lot of each other. So I think I was super impressed with Dustin Strand's year as well, and kind of a slow start for him earlier in the year, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, boy, Dustin Strand's in the mix here in this late model. So been interesting to see if he would have got a few more shows in too, to see where he would have been. We could have really had a barn burner there, but I definitely think the TPO, Strand, Sabraski, Becker, Searing, and like I said, Offson is Massengill, Johnny Broking with a great year, Shane Edgington, Burdick, Provenzino. I mean, some pretty top 10 heavy hitters there in the late model. So good to see that class thriving and being really competitive. Like I said, that's what WISSOTA needs. That's the premier class. We need the top guys in that class putting on a great show every week.
Yeah, and you had Pat Dorr, right? Pat Dorr kind of had a rough season, to be honest, and then come invitational season, right? He wins his 6th straight fall classic. I mean, and Ryan Michelson was really tough at the end of the year as well. You look at that, and I gotta be honest. I kind of disagree with you guys on TPO. I think his car was terrible on the dry. I mean, I think the fact that he won the races is because he was driving it. Tyler Peterson's a hell of a race car driver, but that car didn't seem, when it got super slippery, I don't know what it was. And it wasn't just him, right? He had a rocket. Pat Dorr was in a rocket. When it got slippery, they struggled, right? So something was missing in WISSOTA country, and that parallels, right? Last year, if you think about this, the XR1 rockets, right? Longhorn kind of dominated, right, as far as the national scene goes, but everything was won by XR1 rockets in WISSOTA, right? And this year, I tell you, Dorr struggled a little bit. TPO, when it got slippery, he struggled, but he did just enough to get it done. And you're right, Dustin Strand's a guy that kind of fell victim to car count a little bit. I mean, when TPO went up and raced against him, Strand was a better car when they ran head to head, just kind of looking back at the stats, but you're spot on. I mean, I think we're very, very deep right now in late models. We didn't even talk about Gresseth. There's another guy, right? So, I mean, you just look across the board here. There's a ton of late model guys. Very excited for 2025 in WISSOTA late models. I think it's going to be another big year, and there was more money shows this year than there's been in any other year, and looking forward to that again coming up next year. Modified, you got a rookie, as Coach Kraus find out he's half Canadian here, so kind of his family maybe. I'm not really sure how this works, but Cole Chernosky has a little controversy here. I'm gonna ask Kraus a question on this. Kind of a rookie, kind of not, right? But his first full season in a WISSOTA modified, getting it done, and great battle. This is a battle that came right down to the end in the modifieds. Mike Stearns put up a hell of a battle there. He had a really good season out in South Dakota. Kevin Buzzy Adams is going to look back at this season as one that he let slip away. He had the lead, and man, he just, between maintenance issues and wrecking a car and bringing out a new one probably a couple weeks too late. And I know I think he spun out leading in Rapids one night, got together with a lapper leading him in Omni. Literally, he was a couple wins away, and he can look back at some races, and I guarantee he lost sleep over it, knowing that he had a great opportunity to get it done, and it just slipped away at the end. Sabraski in the mix as always, but didn't really run for the points. I think he's in. Buzzy did nip Stearns that final show with his podium finish over there at the Gopher. Was it the Gopher State Showdown? His podium finish put him in second, so Stearns slipping back to third. Great year for Cole Chernosky. Did the best car win, or was there somebody else that you think, man, I mean, there's maybe a few drivers here that would be in the mix. Chernovsky traveled pretty well, in my opinion. Bert, did you watch much for mods, or do I got to have this conversation with Coach here?
I didn't watch a whole lot, but I mean, like you said, Buzzy was leading for, a good portion of the season, and you don't expect, once he's in the lead, you don't expect that to happen. So he probably had the best car early on, but a championship is determined by the full body of work over the whole season, and Chernovsky proved to be the best in that regard.
Coach Kraus, modifieds, Chernovsky getting it done. And now let me remind you, he came down to the States. He went to Rice Lake. He went to Buzzy's house. He won. He went over to Madison. He ran against, I think Buzzy was there, and Stearns. He got a win over there, right? So he came down to everybody's stomping grounds, and when it mattered, he put it in victory lane and capitalized on the situation. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first off, congrats to Cole on the championship. I needed to see him be better at the 100 to really put a stamp on it for me. That's where everybody's kind of at, and everybody was there. I mean, you can't take away he's a lot of wins up north, obviously, and he did win to Madison and, like you said, at Rice Lake. But same with Stearns, kind of an area kind of deal. Was winning out there. Chernovsky was winning up there. I would have liked to see Cole do much better at the 100 to really put a stamp on it. Still doesn't take away the fact that he won a bunch of races. You still got to go out there and win. People don't understand. You still have to get to the track. You got to unload, and you still have to beat everybody that was there to get wins under his belt. So obviously he's fast. I think he's only going to keep getting faster with how young he is and being in that mod. So ended up turning in a good battle. I think Buzzy obviously is kicking himself. Shane, being Sabrasky I thought he was a little more up and down this year in that mod. And I think obviously he knew that late model was going to take away from something. And it did. When you're running 3 cars, he said it himself. He told me right at the Challenge Series here at Viking that, hey, something's going to suffer when you're running 3 cars. So, good to see Brandon Kopp with a good year, Belfi. I'd like to see a guy like Brady Gertis run some more shows too. And I mean, he got 9th, so congrats to Brady, but I'd like to see him get some more shows, get him to the 50 show mark and see what happens. So there's a lot of other guys out there, especially some local guys that could contend for this, but it's a good fun battle. It was good watching those guys down to the end. That's what we want in Wissota country, is having a good battle down to the end.
Yeah, and I think it was probably one of the most exciting battles in Wissota was the modified division. And it was pretty cool. You got to see those guys race head to head. And I get it. We talked about it. Granite City had the Granite City Open, paid big money. And all of these guys went to Madison to race head to head for points. And kind of one of those deals. It's like, it kind of sucks. I mean, that much money on the line, but you got to see the top drivers compete against each other when the championship was on the line. And that's what it's all about. We don't want to see a champion win and never really got to race against any of these guys. These guys went head to head. Chernovsky was super impressive. I didn't think he was going to get it done, right? I really had kind of my mindset on Mike Stearns sealing the deal. And when it got to invitational season, he ran okay, but he lacked when it mattered most. He let one slip away in Bemidji. So he had a couple opportunities there as well to get it done. But the modified thing, one thing I noticed with this class in general is the lack of consistency, right? I mean, that just goes to speak. There's quite a few drivers, and that whenever you unload at a different track, there's some drivers that race just at home. And I'll use Ferguson Viking as a prime example. You take drivers like Jason and Josh Tanis and Gertis and Dusty Bitson, they basically race Fergus and Alex, right? So a lot of these drivers in Wisconsin, they don't ever see them, and they're like, well, whatever. They just kind of run at home. Well, holy shit. When you go race against these guys on their home turf, they're legit freaking fast. It don't matter who shows up. Same thing you get up in Hibbing, right? You got a guy, Andrew Inman was a rookie. He had a hell of a season up there, right? The Brokings up in Grand Rapids. So a lot of these guys don't travel. In the modifieds, there wasn't a lot of traveling, and you saw, I mean, you could see Buzzy go out there and get a win and the next night get ninth. It was just crazy. And the late model guys that were contending, it seemed like the top guys, and this includes Sobraski, they were in the top 3-4 every night. In the modifieds, that wasn't quite the case, but super fun to watch in the mods. And the mods is interesting too, right? Because you have USRA, you have IMCA, you have all these different. So you look at it, I guess if I had a wish list, guys, my wish list would be that everybody was on the same sanction. Imagine, right? If you take some of the top guys in the area, your Chisholms, your Dustin Sorensen, and imagine if all them guys were WISSOTA, how freaking awesome like the WISSOTA 100 would be if you had Brandon Davis and if everybody was WISSOTA like back in the day. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Not sure that'll ever be the case again, but man, that really sucks because as a race fan, we're really missing out on all the regions being represented. And I think the late models are kind of spreading out a little bit. Bert, that's something we'll talk about in later shows here down the road, but Eastern Wisconsin kind of trending that way in the late models. So we'll see what happens in the future. Super Stocks, first ever national championship, another. So Chernosky, first time winner, TPO back to back, but Dexton Cook with a banner season. And man, he's been trying hard. The last 3-4 years here, guys, I don't know that anybody's raced and tried harder to win a national championship than Dexton Cook. The problem with it is he had this Shane Sobraski guy, you might have heard of him, that he had to contend with the last 2-3 years that was a thorn in his side. So he had some great years for the last 3-4 years, but Sobraski's was just a little bit better. And as Coach mentioned, Sobraski's focus shifted towards the late model. The mod suffered, and he was super fast in the super. He just didn't race it enough to really put himself in contention. Was Dexton Cook the class of the field all year long? What do you guys think?
I'm just going to say I'm surprised that this is his first championship. But yet now, then when you mentioned Sobraski also being in that division, that helps explain it. I think he was the class in the field this year, but I'm going to defer the rest of it to Coach because this is his division. So I'm looking forward to hearing his insight.
Well, and before we get there, let's just be honest. Coach only had, 15, 20 shows. If he runs 60, 70 shows, Dexton Cook's not winning. It just is what it is. I mean, I don't know, right? Coach Krause, I mean, did you just kind of take part of the year off mainly so he could go and win a championship, or is that what you did?
Yeah, pretty much. I think cut my shows back down from, I think the most I ever ran in a super was 40, I think about 46, 47, I think I got that one. My streeter, I got like 52 or something in that year. But I'm just kind of looking at, Ryan, back in the day, you used to see Ryan Aho with 90 shows and Dave Moss with 89 shows and Kurt Myers with 90 shows. And now all of a sudden you got eight out of the top 10 in the supers with 37 shows or less. It's crazy, to think that that's where we are today, and probably should open up some eyes in WISSOTA and wondering why these people aren't doing this and with the cost of things and what things going on. So I'll throw that out there right now, but congrats to Dex. And he obviously, 71 features. 59 top fives. He was pretty much doubled up everybody with his 27 wins, and, took advantage of Shane obviously not running. Shane only ran, 37 features in that super. So he was down a little bit there. And, Kurt Myers was, he had 15 wins. It didn't seem like he had a whole heck of a lot of wins towards the end of the year. He kind of went on a drought there a little bit. And, Trevor Nelson had his normal 18 wins and he had his 40 shows. He always later in the year, he starts traveling and getting over this way and trying to get some more shows. And it's a lot harder to get points when you're doing that for him. So, interesting, definitely an interesting top 10. But like I said, congrats to Dexton and, just seeing different names and, Rick Simpson had a great year. Dylan Nelson was up there. Jordan Hinkelmeyer, probably 7th, is probably his best ever in a super stock with 7th place. And obviously Dustin Nelson, DJ Keeler and Dalton Carlson also in the top 10 as well too. So good to see different names up there and things like that. But again, I think Dexton he earned it. He raced. He did the most. He wanted to win it. And he went out there and he got it done at the end of the day. So you still got to win. I mean, I don't care. You still got to go out there and win. When you clip off 27 wins in a season, I don't care how many times you race. That's a heck of an accomplishment.
Yeah, and in years past, right, the last 2-3 years, you looked at he ran a lot of shows, but he had a lot of lower car count shows, right? So he wasn't at all them bigger shows. This year, he was like, no fucks given. I'm head to head. I'm hitting every big show, and I'm parking this bitch in victory lane. And he did. I mean, he was super fast, and when the money was on the line, he was at his best. So this is by far his best year. Is there a couple drivers maybe not in the top 10 that you think of that you're like, man, if these guys would just race a little bit more, or if they'd race a lot more, when they do race, they're super fast. Well, two guys that come to mind to me would be Terrence Spacek, very limited shows, and Matthew Larson. Of course, Brent Larson's kid. Those two drivers extremely fast. They don't race anywhere near enough to race for a national championship. But Dexton Cook, definitely the class of the field. And I guess we'll see. The Superstock Series, guys, this year is going to be revamped. It sounds like a lot more shows, so it's going to be interesting to see what old Dennis McCulley does there. In the Midwest Mods, back to Team Canada, 2 drivers from Thunder Bay winning WISSOTA National Championships here in 2024. Congratulations, David Simpson. A big, big year for him. Your thoughts? Was there anybody else to come to mind? And your thoughts on David Simpson getting it done in the WISSOTA Midwest Modified Division?
Well, I'll admit I'm not real familiar with all of the drivers in this division, but correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there a big paying show up in Canada and he didn't go to that race?
Well, he ended up going, so he didn't go the first night. He wasn't going to go, and then the weather ended up looking shaky down in the States.
Okay.
So he ended up going up there, and then they jacked him around up there. It was a bad deal. Wasn't a track deal. Kind of whoever was running the show was kind of jacking him around. That we talked about that. He ended up going up to that. There was a big show. What was it, Oklahoma or whatever? They had that 30 grand to win deal. And he was all signed up for that, and he skipped that to race WISSOTA over Labor Day weekend. And I talked to him. I'm like, man, that's a lot of money on the line. What do you think? He's like, well, here's the deal. The wife told me I've been traveling all over the frickin' countryside to win a national championship. And if I don't get it done, she's going to beat my ass. So I better stick home and make sure I seal the deal. And there's a lot of sacrifice goes into racing for a national championship, especially when you get into Midwest Mod street stocks where they are running a lot more shows. So he did what he had to do, and that's a hell of an accomplishment. Nobody can take that away from him, that he's a national champion in the WISSOTA Midwest Mod division. Coach Kraus, any other Midwest Mod drivers that come to mind when you think about this class? You look at it. I know Joey Jensen was in the mix. He had a hell of a season. Anybody else that comes to mind here?
Well, I mean, we obviously got to talk about Blake Adams and what happened there, leading it and, losing all his shows up until I think it was with June 28th, 29th, I think that went down. So, I mean, he basically, I don't know how many, says he ran 69 shows. It says 17 wins. I don't know how many of those he lost. He had to lose
a bunch.
12, 15.
Half
least.
Maybe.
So I think you got to throw that in there. Been really interesting to see where that would have panned out. Super tough deal. And, he goes out west and race. And I mean, it's a rule's a rule. We went round and round about that rule, and I get that. And if it's a legit, we talked about if it's a legit mistake on your part compared to if you're actually cheating your rev box, which guys do. And that's why there's a black and white rule on that, because guys actually do cheat the rev box. And yes, sometimes wiring and stuff doesn't work. I get that. But so it'd been really interesting to see where he would have ended up. Been really like to see Nate Ranke run 50 shows to see where he end up. He's always in the mix. He's always fast. So good to see him end up getting 10th out of that deal. When's the last time Jason Vandenkamp's been the top 10 in national points in WISSOTA? You know what I mean? So he was up there with only, clicked off 36 shows this year. Derek Reich, shout out to Derek. 50 shows, 11 wins, getting 6th in national points. I ran street stock against him a little bit. He used to run Viking Speedway in the streeter. Now when he's in that Midwest mod, it's kind of more over in that Madison area range and running over there. So congrats to him. Good to see different blood. Pretty sure that's his first time finishing in the top 10. And, obviously when you go, you got Joey Jensen running full time, he's going to be in the mix no matter what. So congrats to David Simpson. Well-deserved. Like you said, came down here and, put on a couple shows at Gondik Law. We went to some other places and put on some shows too. Super great guy. He came down to Viking a couple times, introduced himself, so I got to meet him. And so congrats to David on his championship. And just good, good to see new blood in there, Ryan. The different guys. Say what you want to say about Wissota. You've been there and done that with your national championships. We ran back in the day. Finishing in the top 10 it's still hard to do, is really, really tough to do, 10, 15, 20 years ago, let alone win. So it's an accomplishment. I'm going to tell you right now, it's an accomplishment to finish in the top 10. And it's always rewarding no matter what, finishing in the top 10 in any class.
For sure. Hey, where did Brandon Rehill end up? Did he get 3rd or 2nd?
He got 3rd.
How far was he behind Joey? It had to have been close at the end there.
17 points.
Oh, it was 17. Okay. Because, Joey ended up, I think, winning one at the end. Did Joey win did he win the Fall Classic? I think he won that over at Ogilvie.
I mean,
right?
I would assume, is this updated, the Wissota deal?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they do have it accurate. But Brandon Rehill up in Canada there, he had a hell of a season as well. So that Midwest mod field is stacked. That's one of the most competitive divisions in all of Wissota. Kind of reminds me of the super stocks back from the early 2000s, 700, 800 cars, 900 cars, whatever they got. But I mean, anywhere you go, that's the biggest field of cars typically at most racetracks. And I know a lot of the mod guys hate when I say this, right? But I'm like, just get rid of the mod class and just go Midwest mod, because you'd have more of them and the racing would be good either way. But that's a story for another day. I do have a question. I want to jump back to the mods. So sounds like they're giving Rookie of the Year to Cole Chernosky in the mods, and he has over 10 shows. He had over 10 shows in an A mod leading in. So I talked to Andrew Inman. He's like, what's the story here? Andrew Inman gets 2nd in the Midwest mod division for rookies for the National Rookie of the Year deal. And he's like, how does he get Rookie of the Year when he had over 10 shows in a modified coming in? Kind of an interesting deal. I actually gave him a phone number to a board member. And he never did get back to me yet, so I don't know if he was able to connect with that board member or not, but he's looking into that. So your thoughts there, Kraus? If a driver has over 10 shows, and nothing against Chernosky, he's a national champ, right? But should he get Rookie of the Year honors if he had over 10 shows? I mean, a rule's a rule, right?
Are you sure? Is the rule 10 shows?
6. I believe it's 6.
Well, I mean, it's pretty black and white. I mean, that's what the rule's for. We had got into this. There was some issues over the whole COVID deal too, over Rookie of the Year stuff. And we actually went back 2 years, and then that, you know what I mean? It was like, I get that, but hey, a rule's rule. If you ran more than 6 shows in a mod, officially sanctioned Wissota shows in a mod, you should not get Rookie of the Year. And I think Cole might be the kind of guy to say it too. Hey, but you register for it. You have to fill it in on when you fill out your online, it asks you, are you a rookie? And you have to apply to run and set your rookie status. So he obviously must have did that. So something needs to be looked into and make sure we get it right.
Yeah, we'll dig deeper into that here. We'll have some feedback for the next show. We'll find a little bit more information. Street stocks, guys, this was probably the funnest one of the year. I want to give a shout out to the Brower family, right? They're going through a lot. I mean, one thing is people racing, that's real life to us, right? But there's way more to life than racing. They're going through a lot. They family health issues. There's a lot of stuff going on there. But for Braden Brower to win his first ever Wissota Street Stock National Championship and then have his brother Colton cap off an incredible season and get 2nd, man, I tell you what, that's a feel-good story right there. Congratulations to the Browers. Is there any doubt that they were the 2 best cars all year? Both of them two? I mean, them two were dominant, and I don't know which one was better. They didn't race against each other. They had a plan from day one that one was going this way and one was going that way, and they were going to try to both win every single night and finish first and second. They accomplished that goal, and kind of a bummer that they didn't get to race against each other all year. Maybe they would have been, in a pissing match or a fist fight by the end of the year if they would have did that. But boy, what a season, and definitely the two best cars in my mind. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree that those were the two best cars in the street stocks. I mean, other than late models, this might be the division that I know the most drivers because we picked like 80 races, 80 street stock races this year. I don't know where these other drivers finished in the standings, but Egan, he had a good year. Vogel didn't.
Where did he end up? Where did Egan finish? Fourth? Fourth? Yep.
And I mean, Vogel didn't race as much this year, but I believe he got off to a late start this year. But he's always a tough contender when he does race. And there's a handful of other drivers that are really good that aren't coming to mind right now.
Yeah, Vogel's domesticated now. Congrats, Justin Vogel. I know he just got married recently here, so he's too busy cuddling to be racing. That's just kind of the way he rolls. Another guy that was super fast didn't make his way over this way because he lives so far out west, but Rob Petroff had a big year this year. What do you have there, Kraus? 23 feature wins?
24.
24. Yeah, that's a hell of a season. The driver from out in Belgrade, Montana, I believe he's from. So he kind of dominated out there this year, and they just don't have an opportunity to race quite as much over here. If they did, boy, I tell you what, he was not far from being in the mix there, and it was only the last couple of weeks where Colton Brower jumped over him to slide into second. But boy, what a fun season for the street stocks. Coach Kraus, anything to add on the Wissota street stock division?
No, other than I got the Wild game up here on my TV, and Gustafson the goalie just scored a goal.
Really?
I was fortunate enough. I had one of my goalies.
Was it Goldberg, the goalie? Was it Goldberg?
Yeah, I had one of my goalies in North Iowa do that, and I saw it live. It's one of the most unbelievable things you ever seen in hockey games, watching the goalie score a goal. So Gustafson just did it for the Wild. So I was like, kind of lost my train of thought here, but no, congrats to the Browers. Obviously, great job to them. Got to see them a lot over this way. They get over this way, and they were running Viking. Braden was running more in Colton because Colton was running the going for the title down in Madison. So got to see those guys, and it was good for them. And like you said, a lot of stuff going on with their family and stuff like that. So good to see them get their 1-2 done. Yeah, Petroff, great year. Ty Egan getting fourth. Maria Brokesick, I mean, cracking the top 5, 17 wins. And she was fast everywhere she went. So congrats to Maria. I got to know her and her husband a little bit when I ran my streeter. So congrats to them. Trey Hess, Tommy Pagonis, rookie year, jumping out of that Mod 4. He was always fast in contention, 14 wins on the year. Vogel did get 8th. And then Dylan Hopp, another Montana car getting up there. And then, Levi Rant having a good year too. So, good to see different guys getting there, and, super interested in seeing, Brower's 71 shows, Ty Egan 65 shows, Maria Brokesick 49, Trey Hess 46, Tommy Bagonis 54, Vogel 44, Levi Rant 58. Is it, that's a lot of shows for a street stock, especially technically supposed to be a beginner class. But, I think the street stock tour has something to do with that, letting these guys race more, and people want to run that tour. It's a cool tour. It pays well, and they want to run that. And it is the most competitive class out there. I ran that class for a full year and ran against them guys, and it's super competitive. So good to see, a class like that. Always a good show. The streeters always put on a good show no matter where they're at. So obviously, congrats to the Browers and, everybody else who finished in the top 10.
I feel bad for them the last couple of weeks here at the FYE shows, the Fall Classic and the Gopher State. They had to run first, and, they farmed the track, and, both of them, the heat races were not very good, slimy. The feature race, I talked to some of the drivers. They're like, it was unraceable. It was slimy. And it's like, it is the best racing out there. In my mind, if you're a fan, I get it. There's a lot of fans that maybe are watching somebody specific in another class, or maybe you're like a big diehard late model fan, and a lot of people, they just don't pay attention to the street stocks. Kraus is right, man. I'm telling you what, the Wissota street stocks, IMCA stock cars, USRA stock cars, that division all around is some of the most exciting competitive racing in the whole country at any venue in any sanctioning body. That is one right there where if you're a race fan, you need to pay more attention to that class because it is extremely good racing and there's some very, very good drivers. The difference in my mind between some of the top tier drivers in like a street stock division as compared to say top tier drivers in a mod or late is that's kind of your younger drivers mostly, but also they don't have, $100,000 race car. They don't have that kind of budget, but I tell you what, the talent is there. So keep an eye on those guys for sure. Now, a little bit of controversy in each of the next three divisions. And Bert Kraus, I know that none of us, to be honest with you, watched a ton of races in any of these three classes, but we want to give them their props here as well. And, I did watch some. We had some local guys here. But Mod 4 division, the Iron Man of Mod 4s, I mean, let's face it, the Silver Bullet, Dean Larson, big season. We give him a lot of shit because he travels out west. He's racing out in Wyoming and in Montana. But if you've made the trip out to Wyoming, I'd make the trip out there too because it's amazingly beautiful out there. So there's that. But he ran a lot of shows around home too. How many feature wins did Dean Larson end up with on the year? 30, what was it, 35?
33.
33 wins. Did he win by 1 point there, Coach?
It says 4.
4. Okay, so that is not updated, okay? Because it came down to the last night and had Dustin Holtquist won and had full car count, he would have had enough points to jump past him. I think he was chucking 107s. I believe he needed a 112 to pass him, 113, 112. If he gets a 112, he passes him up. And he got a 110 is what he got because 6 Mod 4s showed up to the Gopher State, the last show at I-94, 6 of them. Holtquist did what he had to do. He got the win, but there was only 6 cars, so he only got a 110 on that final night, and too little too late. He had all season to get that other show in. It is what it is. But the drama there, and we're not going to beat the horse on it, because we've already talked about this over and over. Guys, Tommy Bowden should have been in the conversation here. He got stripped there. They decided to, whether we agree with the rule, don't agree with the rule. Simple fact is he got disqualified for something that's not even in the rule book. Okay. Now and I'm going to get to this in a second here, Kraus, and it's going to make your blood boil when you hear, because you don't know about this. So Bowden, of course, he had the deal where they didn't just DQ him for the night. They stripped everything. They lost all his points, got suspended, fined, everything over something that we've talked about over and over, not even in the rule book, okay? Bad deal. It would have been a 3-driver race for Natty. Is what it is. Congrats, Dean Larson. Pure stocks come down to the final night, and that was at the Fall Classic. Going into the final night, Dustin Puffy was leading, and Brent Mindock had to get second or better, and Puffy had to finish third or worse. And if that happened, Brent Mindock was going to be the national champion. Well, there was some drama, guys, and I watched over and over and over, and I wasn't able to see it because the camera kind of slipped away. But so, Bert, get this. Puffy's leading the feature, leading national points, right? Leading the feature last night of the year. Restart comes out, and it shows Mindock inside of him down the front straightaway. Camera goes away for a minute, and next thing you know, Puffy's dead sideways, going down through the infield, falls back to like 10th, and there it goes. Didn't spin out, didn't stop. Quite honestly, Kraus, if you're in that situation and they claim, and I didn't see it, so I don't know. I've had people say both ways. I did not see it. But if he got punted, right, because there's people out there saying that Mindock turned him, right? At that point, if you got turned and you're leading and the guy that turned you is battling for you for national points, do you just kind of do the old fucking I'm going to let it go and that fucker's going to the back and I'm getting my spot back? What do you do there?
Well, he should have stopped. see what the call was. Okay. And then if he doesn't get the call, probably go wreck both of you. So then I'm just saying it. He might as well go out there and wreck Mindock under yellow, so Mindock can't complete the race. He wins the national points. I mean, what's stopping him from doing that? Even if he gets DQ'd for that race, it don't matter. You'd have to DQ him for the whole year, and that's not. You can't do that. So I think he should have taken. I didn't. I saw him going through the infield. I didn't know what happened. I'm like, what's he doing? Why won't you stop? And then he looked like he pulled back on the track. He wasn't even trying. I'm like, what's going on? It's like, so, and then he got a couple yellows and he got back up there. So I don't know. It's, you're racing for the national championship. And if you got a chance to tap the guy, punt the guy, get near him, it's going to happen. I don't care who it is. There's going to be contact there, but if you felt you got spin out, or stop on the track, make somebody make a call. So that could have got real interesting. But I tell you what, Mindock, he won it. He split those guys. He was in fourth, about 2-3 laps to go, and he split the second, third place guy and did what he had to do and won the national championship. And I sure wish it went to Ben 1 a.m. Because that deserved to win that. And then there was nothing even said during the Fall Classic. The announcer didn't even know what was going on. They didn't know the points. They didn't know anything that was going on at the Fall Classic. You got a guy racing for a pure stock national championship and nothing was said. It was 1 a.m. I felt super bad for those pure stock, those Hornet guys running it there. There's all the fans laughed. It was just absolutely terrible to watch. And I was pumped. You were pumped. We're watching pure stock. I don't care if it's pure stock or Bobby Pierce and RTJ going at it. It's racing. So I felt real bad. So congrats to Mindock and Puffy for putting on a great show. That should have been hyped up a lot more than it was. And I feel bad for those two guys.
100%. I stayed up 100. I mean, I looked at it and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, it's late. I'm gonna go to bed. And I'm a night owl. I was tired, right? It was an 8.5-hour show. But I'm like, I'm staying up. There's a national championship on the line. I'm watching this deal, right? I got to see it. And so that's a bummer for Puffy. He had a great year, right? And great move. Mindock's move, that was probably that was without question the move of the week to split those guys, get in the second, lock it up. So Bert, I'm going to ask you a question. I'll ask both of you. So obviously Puffy, right, is going to be, I mean, you literally had a national championship in the bag. You lose it on the last night. That's tough, right? That's tough. You are going to be super bummed, super upset. Is there anything that could make it even just a little bit worse?
Well, I'm sure there is. You're going to tell me what made it worse.
Kraus, do you know what happened?
No, I don't know what happened.
Kraus, tell Bert what happened.
Well, they pulled into the tech area, Bert, and Mr. Mindock put the money up to tear down Mr. Puffy. So Mr. Puffy got tore down after the race, and that they had to tear his engine down at I don't know,
2 in the morning, 3 in the morning,
5 and 7 a.m. Might as well just went to breakfast and came back and slept on it and came back and they got some sleep and then tore it down. But yeah, he got tore down, Bert.
So
that would sting.
So the driver that spun him to win the championship also tore him down?
Allegedly. We didn't see it, Bert. Allegedly spun him. We saw that he was inside of him. We saw the car sideways. Did not see the contact, but yes. So that driver was second in points going in and kind of had it in his mindset that I'm going to tear the guy down because if he does win the national championship, maybe they'll have an unwritten rule or whatever to get him disqualified or whatever. And it turned out Puffy was legal. He was deemed legal. Okay. Now, here's the part, and this was a fan comment because I had multiple reach out, and they're like, what really pissed off Puffy about the fact that he got tore down was the fact that Mindock ran most of the season with racing springs and a pier stock and got most of his wins towards his national championship with racing springs and didn't get caught until over halfway through the year when he had to take them out, put stock springs in. Then he was off the pace for about a month and he finally got it together at the end. And he's like, that freaking guy literally tore me down and he was illegal half the season. that one stung him a little bit. He was not happy about that, and I get it. I lost the national championship to Don Ishins one year, and he had all of his Brzezinski shit for sale on the 2020 page that year. And I can tell you right now, I was not happy. I want to go burn houses down. I was pissed, right? So I get it. When you lose to somebody that you know was cheating, that pisses you off. And that was 20 some years ago, Bert, and I'm still pissed off about it. So I get it. That's a tough one to swallow for Dustin Puffy, but hey, don't hang your head. Great season all around. And the pure stocks came right down to the wire, and that made it exciting. And last but not least, the Hornets. And of course, drama in the Hornets as well. A little rumor mill action going on in Western Minnesota. But Justin Schlitsky, he's second Wissota Hornet National Championship. And that one came down. He kind of had that one locked up here early part of September. Pretty good battle for second. I do have some fan feedback on that one as well. I think Roner got second, and he should have won at Fergus. I don't know what happened on the last lap. It looked like he broke something and got past. He kind of had it under control, but Schlitsky doubled up at the Labor Day shootout. Good to see him come up north. But here's the deal. So early in the year, guys, he gets caught with an illegal transmission. Okay. Now, partway in, I don't know how far in, 4, 5, 6 shows into the season. So he had a few weigh-ins early, right? Gets caught, illegal transmission, right? DQ for the night. Illegal transmission. DQ for the night. Now, keep in mind, Tommy Bowden got DQ'd for the whole year for something that's not even in the rule book. Just saying, right? So there was a few people that reached out, and they're like, kind of interesting that, that one's in the rule book. He gets DQ'd for the night for an illegal transmission, which after that, right, they changed it to a speed infraction, and starting the next week, the drivers that got caught with an illegal transmission got 30 and 1,000 or 30 and 500. So kind of just lack of consistency. Nothing against Schlitsky or Mindock or any of these guys, right? It is what it is. But that's just the consistency across the board. So, yeah, tough one to swallow. But a lot of drama this year in the Hornets, right? I mean, teching crazy, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what's going on in Western Minnesota, Cross? I know that little word on the street telling me that I-94 and Viking might be up to something with the Hornets this year.
We haven't decided yet. Obviously, we had ran short trackers a couple years ago, and be honest with you, all this hoopla going on in the Hornet class, and a lot of guys don't want to race because the Gestapo's going to come in, and these are low budget guys, and they don't want to get their cars nitpicked all the time. So there's been some talk. We don't know what we're going to do yet. We're weighing out all our options. Obviously, want to see what happens with the Wissota meetings if anything's done. There's been talk. Wissota doesn't want to sanction them anymore either, just because with all the rules and everything that's going on, and the I-94 car count dropped drastically because all the teching going on up there. The guys didn't want to show up there and they didn't want to race. So it's an issue. Needs to be resolved. These are our low budget starter cars. We all need these guys. They're fun to have. They just like racing. It's people that like racing and they want to be a part of something. So we got to get some things figured out with the Hornet rules for sure, and see what happens.
Yeah, keep us posted on that. And there's a lot of tracks kind of talking the same direction. Do the starter classes need to be Wissota sanctioned? And the way I look at it, right, you take your area, you got, a couple tracks in the area. They don't necessarily need to be Wissota sanctioned. You could work together, put together a point fund for them. They can still get a point fund, so it doesn't need to be Wissota. And that leads us into really the biggest storyline of 2024. Again, congrats to all the national championships. That's a big commitment all year long. And I get it. There were some tough ones out there or whatever, but at the end of the day, it was a hell of a season for a lot of drivers here, and they deserve their props on that. So the biggest storyline was teching. But before we get into that, shout out here to Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating of Ashland, Wisconsin, proud sponsor of the #1 series in all of Wissota racing, the Northland Superstock Series. They get the biggest car counts across the board consistently. Fastlane Motorsports up in Ashland, custom powder coating, sandblasting, fabricating. They build the Galloper chassis. They service a lot of racetracks, sell parts at racetracks. They can ship you anything you need. Give Chris a call over there. A great guy. Help a lot of people out. Want to thank everybody up there in Ashland at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating. So I got to ask you guys this. So that, let's just face it. So Bert, I mean, you talk about it. Your mom's got some health issues going on, which obviously affects you, right? Because you're worried about mom and Kraus. Everybody's been through that, right? Is it fair to say that everybody has life happen, right? You're either in the middle of some shit, or you're just got done going through some shit, or you're about ready to go through some shit. And it could be anything from health issues, maybe you lost a loved one, or a loved one has health issues, or you had a pet die, or, you have troubles at work, or you got issues with a kid, or, I mean, any number of things, right? And everybody's going through some kind of turmoil in their life. It just is what it is. And would you say that maybe 10% at most of racers are racing for points, right? 90% of them are, hey, if I happen to finish up there in the points, great, but I just want to race. I race because it's a hobby. I love it. It's fun. I love the culture. I just want to be part of something cool, right? I just love racing. I love competing. I want to win, but if I don't, not a big deal. And it's kind of a release, no different than any other sport. It's a release from all the other shit. When you're at the racetrack, that's a little bit of time where you're not sitting there thinking about all the other stuff going on in your life. Is that fair to say, right? So along comes WISSOTA, right? And their tech committee and the Gestapo, and they're just fucking with people, right? A guy has his power steering belt fall off. He gets DQ'd for no power steering. The fucking belt's sitting on the racetrack. People getting DQ'd for too many roof bolts and just, I mean, any number of things that we talked about all year long, rules that aren't even in the rule book, and just non-stop drama, right? And these people, I've talked to drivers and they've reached out, and I had WISSOTA board members go, I get it. You're just banging out WISSOTA. You want clicks. That's bullshit, right? We love WISSOTA. We want WISSOTA to get better. There's clearly a lot of problems with WISSOTA. People reach out to us. They're afraid to reach out and say anything publicly because they're going to have a target on their back, right? So they reach out to us. We talk about it. I'm here to tell you, we're not the freaking issue, right? There's a lot of issues within WISSOTA organization, and we just happen to fucking point them out, okay? So we're not the issue here. They don't got and there's people in that organization that are fully aware that there's plenty of issues there. Okay, they know, but God forbid we bring it up. We're the fucking bad guy. Okay, it pisses me off. It's bullshit, right? So I'm here to tell you that there's people that have reached out to me and said, you know what? I got enough drama in my life and shit going on. I build a race car and I get DQ'd, right, for stupid shit. I mean, we had a guy get DQ'd because he had a standard bolt instead of a metric bolt in a trailing arm. What are we talking about, right? And you have all this stuff going on, and they're like, I don't need to do this. I can find any number of hobbies. I can go race enduros if I want to do something different, or I can go four-wheeling or ATVing or go fishing or golfing or whatever. I don't need to do this, right? They put their cars together, they think they're legal, and they go to the racetrack, and lo and behold, they have a good night. They're DQ'd for something that's complete bullshit. And I get it. There's people out there that are bending the rules, and we're trying to nip that in the bud. I get it, right? But it's this little stuff. And a couple things are going to happen. One is there's people out there that said, fuck it, I'm selling my shit. I'm out. I just don't need this anymore. I'm out. I spent all kinds of money to go do this hobby, and I'm out. I'm just done, right? That's one thing. And the other thing is there's people out there, right, that have tempers. I mean, people got depression issues, anxiety. And I'm telling you, one of these days, right, one of these freaking tech guys is going to fuck with the wrong person. They're going to text somebody and they're going to be, you're disqualified. And they're like, that's not even a rule. And they're going to get their ass beat, right? Somebody's going to go to jail. That's going to happen if this keeps up. I promise you, I don't want to see anybody get their ass beat. And I don't want to see anybody go to jail, but I wouldn't feel bad for them if they fucking with people like this. It's got to stop, right? And is this nitpicking nonsense, all these stupid rules that are just completely unnecessary, is this hurting the sport, or is this good for the sport? What do you think, Bert? What do you think, Coach?
Well, I mean, if if it's a rule and you're caught, breaking that rule, then yes, then but from, what you're hearing is that people are getting disqualified for things that aren't even in the rule book. And I don't know how you can disqualify somebody if it's not in the rule book. I mean, I was just thinking about this, as you were talking. I mean, drivers don't take legal action because it would cost them more to take legal action than, they don't have the money to hire a lawyer and that sort of thing. But I mean, I would think that legal action would be, if somebody took legal action and won, that would put a stop to at least the unwritten rule stuff.
Here's a little tip for you. Okay. So first, two things. First of all, they have a rule in the rule book that says just because it doesn't say it's illegal doesn't mean that it is. So that they've been using that rule. Now, any good lawyer is going to take that rule and that they're going to be like, yeah, take this and stuff it up your ass, because that's not a thing, right? Any good lawyer. WISSOTA has been taken to court multiple times. They have lost every single lawsuit they've been a part of. All of them. Okay. So, but you're exactly right. Drivers, if you're in the middle of a lawsuit with WISSOTA, you can't race, right? That's part of the deal. You can't race until the litigation's done. And you're right. What are you going to gain? What is it to win a national championship in a couple of these classes? Couple grand? Well, all of a sudden you take them to court. It's going to cost you 10 grand in legal fees, if not more, to go get 2 grand. I mean, it's not going to make sense. And most of these drivers are broke because they spent all their money on race cars anyway, right? So I wish we had a lawyer that was a sponsor of the show that said, look, I just want to sponsor the show and I'm willing to go pro bono and help some of these racers. That would be super cool. So if you know somebody, let us know and we'll make sure to promote the hell out of that guy. So a solution here, right? A solution for the unwritten rules thing is this. And maybe Kraus, I mean, you can maybe send this to WISSOTA or whatever, is if a WISSOTA tech official comes across a car and they find a part and they're like, I think that's illegal. I think that should be illegal. And they look in the rule book, right? And it's not in there. Well, in their mind, they're thinking, well, I think it's illegal because that's definitely, I don't like that. Well, that's not a thing. If they want and they have the latitude to do this, you can go ahead and update that rule and make it a rule. You can definitely do that. But there should never be a driver DQ'd for an unwritten rule. It should literally be like, look, here's the deal. Don't like that. We're going to talk about it. We'll let you know this week if you can have that moving forward. Can't disqualify you. And that would be a discussion topic for the tech committee to get together, possibly write a rule, right? And then inform everybody. Kraus, look on the WISSOTA website really quick. Go to WISSOTA.org, go to tech updates. And I want you to go to mod 4. And I want you to tell me when they posted a tech update that screw-in air bleeds are not allowed on a Holly 500 carburetor on a mod 4. Tell me the date that tech update came up.
Keep talking. It's going to be a second here.
Right. So that's the thing. So if they come up with something, so that's an easy change. No more disqualifying people for unwritten rules. If they don't like something, discuss it as a committee, right? Combined committee, come back, write a rule, update everybody. And then if they decide it's no longer going to be allowed, inform everybody of the new rule and get it out to all the drivers via the social media, the website, and they have everybody's phone numbers, email addresses. You got to inform the drivers. So I bet you're still looking for it, right, Kraus?
Well, I have a question for you guys. Because I mean, you guys have been familiar with WISSOTA a lot longer than I have. Has the teching always been this nitpicky, or has it just been recently?
It's been recently, and everybody knows that me and Billy don't necessarily get along, and he was a big wheel sticker guy and wheel openings and stuff like that, but at least the shit was in the rule book. This has all kind of been like over the last year or so here where, last year with Dexton Cook, that was the first time that this has ever happened that I can remember that I've been told about. But this year it's happened more and more. And it's like, That should never be a thing. And for dang sure, holy shit, if you're going to disqualify somebody for an unwritten rule, which is bullshit anyway, it should be at most one that race. It shouldn't be a whole freaking season thrown away for it. So no, that's new, and it's not just Pogo. There's several tech guys doing this shit, but it's all headed up by Bill Engelstad. He's allowing it to happen, which is a problem.
Well, and this is where I'm going with this, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I mean, you guys made the comment that the podcast was brought up at the WISSOTA meeting last year. I mean, do you think they're being nitpicky because we're pointing stuff out?
Well, no, because we're not pointing anything out until after it's already occurred.
Well, right, but
yeah.
I don't know. It just seems weird.
I do have something for you on that. Hold that thought for just a minute. Kraus, you find it?
What do you want me to find? Mod 4 what?
Mod 4 carburetor tech update, anything?
Nothing. Last update was on 7/16/24. Adjustable bump stop cups are not allowed. That was the last update.
I got to be honest with you guys. That is fucked up, right? So it's bad enough that they literally disqualified a guy and ruined his entire season and cost him a shot at a national championship over something that's not in the rule book. And then once they made that decision, they couldn't take 15 minutes to write a rule and put a tech update out there to inform everybody else. Literally every driver should have went to the track the next week, and literally all of them should have had adjustable air bleeds on the carburetor. Obviously, that's by a different carburetor, because they never updated it. If you're going to disqualify somebody, you have to communicate this with the drivers. You have to put a tech update out there. There's a tech update page on the website, and they don't even take the time to do that. Braden Brower gets disqualified, right? And then it gets overturned. It was literally like 3 weeks after the WISSOTA 100 when the WISSOTA office got it out to the promoters that he was deemed legal. That should have been out the next day or that day, so it's just a lot of shit doesn't work here. So speaking of the show, we had a guy up at the Fall Classic that heard that, hey, you put the sticker on the car, you're going to have an opportunity. Maybe we're going to sponsor somebody, or we are going to sponsor somebody. But make sure to put the sticker on the car to be eligible, right? Pure stock driver goes through tech after the heat race, night one of the Fall Classic. The head of WISSOTA Teching, Bill Engelstad, literally comes unglued on him in tech. You get that fucking sticker off your car. That sticker's on the car. I'm tearing your whole car apart front to back tomorrow, and you're going to be tech like you've never been tech before. Get that fucking thing off. I hate them fucking guys. That's the head of WISSOTA Tech guy threatening a driver because he had a one to go show sticker on the car. Now, he called me. He said, man, I don't want to take the sticker off the car. I'm like, dude, just take it off the car, right? You don't need a dick with that, right? If it's me, right, I'm an asshole, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get a big-ass sticker, and I'm going to have one on every single panel. I'm going to have one to go show everywhere all over the car just to piss them off. That's me, right? That's probably why I got screwed with a lot, because I was that guy. Drivers don't do that, right? And that's why I've told drivers, we bring up all this stuff on the show because the minute drivers bring this stuff up, they got a target on their back, because a lot of these tech guys got a vendetta. They got little man syndrome, right? And they'll go after them if they try to play hardball. Well, they can't go after me. I don't give a shit. I'll say whatever's on my mind. What are they going to do? Say you can't go to the racetrack? Don't care. Whatever. Do whatever you got to do, right? So I'm here to have the voice for the drivers because they're not allowed to have that voice for themselves. So it's a bad deal, and there's a lot of shit that's got to change within that organization. The biggest thing is teching, and I tell you what, it's hurting racing. It's just it's creating drama where drama is just not necessary. It's just not, right? And I got to thank them because that gave us a lot to talk about this year on the show, right? I mean, so thank you, WISSOTA, for giving us content all the time, but don't do it on the backs of all these drivers that are working their ass off, spending their hard-earned money to go have a good time. Just quit screwing with them, please. Just quit screwing with them. Anything else to add on that, guys, before we move on? All right, guys. Well, let's jump into little bit of racing. So there's a little bit of racing happened over the past couple of weeks, but really the big thing that's going on right now is Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models. First, a shout out to our friends over at Daytona One Performance Lubricants. So Buck, of course, the founder of Daytona One, extremely intelligent guy. He's been very, very renowned in the lubricant industry, in the Hall of Fame for NASA. This guy knows his stuff, and he's passionate about helping products, get the most out of your products and get more longevity out of them. And that's what the right lubricants will do. And it's everything from gear oil to power steering fluid to motor oil to all kinds of different lubricants out there. He's got tire treatments out there that allow you to run tires longer. So he's got a lot of great stuff out there. Check out their website. Check them out online, Daytona One Performance Lubricants. And if you want, go ahead and give Buck a call and just give Chad a call, the regional rep at 507-828-3536. And he can get you all the information that you need about all the products, not just one or two products, but all the products that Daytona One Performance Lubricants has to offer. So thanks a lot to those guys. So moving on now to the Lucas Oil. So this past weekend, now remember, East Bay canceled, unfortunately, not season. There's no more racing at East Bay. So that sucks ass, right? It just is what it is. We'll talk more about speed weeks when we get closer to that. But that canceled, Atomic canceled. So a 7-race mini-series got knocked down to 5. Well, this past weekend, we had Brownstown. And big weekend for RTJ. Wins night 1, gets second on night 2, gave the old college try on the last lap. Marlar won night 2. But guys, he leaves Brownstown going into this weekend at the Dirt Track World Championship at Eldora with a 50-point lead. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Jonathan Davenport and Devin Moran are tied 50 points back. And T-Mac had a rough night. I don't know what happened. I think he got sideways. I don't know how. I think he ended up 19th night 1. Finished up in the top 5, had a good run night 2, but he's like 100-some points back. So he has really put himself in behind the 8 ball in this deal. Almost unattainable for him to get it done. But your thoughts here on Brownstown over this past week, and what stuck out to you guys before we talk a little bit about what's coming up?
Well, I didn't see the race that RTJ won, but I did see the feature of the one that Marlar won, and I'm gonna agree with something that Coach has said on here several times. Is that 100-lap race could have been a 50-lap race because nothing really happened after lap 50. And nobody ventured off the bottom. It was, and the announcer was saying, well, the track's not locking down, but it's not rubbering up, but nobody's getting out of line.
Yeah, I don't know that it did rubber up. I mean, it looked like it maybe got a little faster at the end, but it certainly was a hell of a lot cleaner, and the rest of the track was marble, so it was essentially one lane, whether it was rubber or just super clean. But yeah, the second night the racing wasn't good, and Marlar got it done. He's kind of got quick again. He was really good early in the year, then he was terrible for like 2 months, and good weekend for Marlar. But let me ask you this: so he's going in last year. Remember Heartbreak? He went in it was a 1 race deal last year at the Dirt Track World Championship, and the top 4 drivers were essentially going in even Steven across the board, even though RTJ had like a 400-point lead. This year, RTJ had a big lead, and quite honestly, down the stretch, kind of struggled. Right, new team. He just. We talked about it beforehand. We're like, I don't know if this guy's going to get it done. He might get 4th in this deal. He's not running good. Well, lo and behold, he found something. He's 50 points ahead. Is he winning this deal, or is something stupid going to happen at Eldora and going to nip him out of it again?
Well, I mean, he's definitely in a good position to win it, but there's like a 10-point differential between positions. For like the top 4 positions, there's 10 points between each position, I think. And then
I think it's 20. Is it 20 between first and second?
Or is it 20? Okay.
I think it's 20 between first and second. I was talking to Changa, and then he said it's 10 for like the next 3 or 4 spots, and then it's 5 after that.
So, I mean, he still has to perform at Eldora because, you can lose 50 points in a jiffy if, with that sort of a point spread between each position.
And I mean, who's the favorite going in, right? So he's 50 points ahead, but in your mind, it's Eldora, right? Is it? I mean, is the smart money on Superman?
The smart money would be, in my opinion, yes.
Coach Kraus, what's your thoughts? Your thoughts, unless you want to save it for bold predictions, but what are you thinking?
I gotta save my one comment for bold prediction. So I don't know, just looking at the point deal, like it's 56 places, 60 points. It's 150 for 6. You get 200 to win. So you get 6th place. I don't know what the tiebreaker is. So Davenport wins, RTJ gets 6th. It's game on, and 6th is not telling you right now, that's in game at Eldora because there's going to be a lot of cars there. There's a lot of money on the line. It's another stupid 100-lap race. I don't. McCready's done. He's out of it. Moran's really good there too. So this is going to be super interesting. Obviously, just heats and stuff on Friday, right, and then the features on Saturday. So going to be interesting to see. I'm hoping it's exciting as last year. I don't think we're gonna ever top that ever again. My big take, I want to see how Saturday plays out compared to last year, and then say, well, what was better? You know what I mean? Was this playoff format better? Technically, you only got 3 cars in the mix. Last year, you had 4. So I think that has to play something into it. The fact that McCready's already out of it, he can't win the thing. So I don't think they were banking on having only 3 cars eligible to win this championship. So going to be interested to see how it plays out. It'll be fun to watch. It's Eldora. Hopefully the track holds up for 100 laps and it's a fun race.
And remember, there's 10 points also for overall fast time. So that's another 10 points. So time trials is a big deal here for these, I guess, 3 drivers, because like you said, T-Mac's probably out of it. Bert?
Yeah, I mean, and, last year watching it, it was just a matter of, okay, whoever finishes in front of the other is going to win the championship. But this year, you're still going to have excitement because it's like, okay, if RTJ can get one more position, before the end of the race, he'll win the championship. And, so there's going to be, hopefully there'll still be excitement. Hopefully everybody's running up near each other and there's still excitement.
Yeah, time trials kind of sets a stage, right? If you time trial bad in this deal, it's not easy to pass in the heat races at Eldora. You get buried here, and you can really, really ruin your weekend. So it's going to be fun to watch. I think all eyes in the racing world, especially dirt late model fans, are definitely going to be on this race here this coming weekend at Eldora. And the weather looks good. Knock on wood, the weather does look good. So fan questions here. Got a couple fan questions here before we jump on to the last couple segments. But brought to you, first of all, by the editor to our show.
Elevate-visual.com video productions. Brandon is a licensed drone operator. He also does commercials for businesses. Anything with video production, make sure you get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com, and you can also hop up on his Facebook page.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brandon. So first thing here, I got a couple questions that were directed for Coach Kraus. So any word, Wasota made an announcement, Hoosier made an announcement here, I don't know, a month and a half ago, that they signed the deal and they're going to go back to Hoosiers again for 2025. Have you heard any more details as far as what the contract is, tire prices, anything like that?
Nothing. I haven't heard anything. Sounds like exact same tire. There's been rumors that we're getting the IMCA compound or whatever it may be. Everything I've heard, it's the exact same tire. The jump, from what I've heard, the jump's not going to be as great as as big as people are expecting. I'm thinking, I have no clue exact numbers. You're looking probably somewhere in the 160 range. one high 150s, 160 range for a tire, which I mean, it's a jump. There's no doubt about it. It is going to go up, but I don't think we're going to be near that 180, 190, 200 mark, which is obviously really, really good. So there's nothing set in stone. I think we'll obviously find that out in November.
Yeah, but I figured since they put the post out there, I thought they maybe would have had something up sooner. That's what I'm anticipating. I've heard all kinds of speculation and rumors and this and that and the other, but I've talked to a couple people that are heavily involved with the process, and they're tight-lipped. So tip of the cap to them, right? Because they know dang well. They tell me it's going on the show for the whole world to hear. So good job, keep it under wraps if that's what your goal was. But I tried my darndest to try to get a little bit of information out there, and I would guess that's probably going to be the case. It'll probably be at the November meeting with the Wasota banquet. They'll probably announce everything there. So speaking of that, and kind of ties right into the next guy, but Don Shaw for I think third year in the row is going to be doing the Ernie Mincy early thaw down at Casa Grande down in Arizona, little winter racing in January. And question is, super stocks, Bert. Wasota super stocks are getting added to the slate down there, and sounds like there is some super stocks down there, little different rule package, California cars and all that. Is Coach Kraus going to take a week off and head down to the warm weather and maybe reschedule some hockey games and pretend the bus broke down or whatever so he can go race this winter down in Arizona?
Do I really even have to answer that question? How about this, Bert? How about all three of us are going to take off? Okay. Hopefully the A-hole hauler will make it down there. Correct?
Yep.
We'll do our show from down there and we'll go racing all weekend. Would that be a fun trip? Would it not, Bert? You can.
I'm in. I will 100. We do that. I'm in. I'm going.
We can write it off as a business expense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll even get a sponsor to cover the fuel to go down there. I'll make sure I'll get that done. So if we bring the 29 star down there, if you're kind of too old and blind and can't see and don't want to race, I'll run it. I don't care. Whatever. We'll get her done. But let's go down there. I talked to a few people. It sounds, at first I'm like, well, holy shit, who the hell's gonna haul all the way down there with a super stock? Well, I tell you what, there's a little bit more interest than what I thought. I think they're probably going to get a pretty full field. I mean, I'm not expecting 30, 40 cars, but I would anticipate 20. So I think they're going to have a decent car count down there. So it'll be interesting to see who makes the trip. So kind of cool to see some winter racing. And quite honestly, I mean, we fell in love with the Wild West Shootout, which is still a thing, right? It's at Vado, but that's where a lot of the Wasota guys went with the mods and Midwest mods. But this has essentially replaced the Wild West Shootout. And if you're a Wasota fan, our drivers are going to be heading down to this race for sure. So that's going to be fun one to watch. So pretty cool to see. Another one here come in. Is Brad Sweet a sandbagger? Okay, and the question is, so Brad Sweet went on a slump all season long, and once he had the championship clinched, he kind of got hot again at the end of the year. This past weekend, he wins 3 out of 4. Was he a lot better than he showed all summer long? And did he just sandbag to keep the high limit series relevant?
Well, first of all, it can't be much of a slump if he won the championship. But
wins.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, as the season went on, and I don't really pay attention to points until later in the season. I looked at their points. It's like, how in the hell is Sweet leading the points? He's never winning. So, I mean, that's a good conspiracy theory. But you two are racers. I mean, do racers when it comes to trying to when you're out on the track and you're racing in a feature, can a racer sandbag?
Kraus did all year for sure. I mean, he's a promoter now at Viking Speedway. He's like, our car count's down. If I go out there win every night, nobody's gonna come race here, right? So then he just pulled off half the time, ran into tires, playing along the whole time, going, "Oh shit, I'm a non-factor. Come race." So Kraus is a sandbagger for sure. I wouldn't do that. I'm too competitive for that. But Kraus, I don't think so. It's a neat conspiracy, but I think he's a highly competitive guy. I just can't see him doing that.
Yeah, I said it earlier in the show. He owns the series. He runs the series. He had way too much stuff going on at the beginning of the year, trying to figure out schedule, trying to figure out employees. They had cancellations. He's doing this. He had way too much stuff going on. I think once the series settled down and everything got kind of set in place, you want to talk about conspiracies is Kyle Larson quit running the series as of late, and now he's been winning more, Bert. So you could look at that deal and say, hey, Kyle Larson hasn't been running as much. Obviously, he's focused on winning something a little bit bigger and better than the high limit series. So he hasn't been racing at all. So you could say the only reason why Sweet's winning is because Kyle Larson hasn't been running it either, too. So I just don't think Courtney he started off hot. He has not been very good as of late, and Rico's really hit and miss too. And you throw the other guys, Marks and a few other guys, and they're just not really guys that are going to win 15, 20 features a year. So Sweet's the dominant car. I just think he got relaxed and settled down, and series is off and running, and just took off from there.
You did see who won the World of Outlaw sprint car race this weekend, didn't you?
That was Donnie Schatz, was it not?
Donnie Schatz, yeah. Well, former Wissota national champ right there, Donnie Schatz, Mr. 10-time himself. Another thing coming up here, Pennsboro. We're about a week and a half away from the reincarnation of the legendary Pennsboro XR Super Series race. You guys excited? Not excited? Kind of meh? What's your thoughts on this upcoming event at Pennsboro? And how big do you think the crowd's going to be? And do they need a big crowd for this to be a success?
Well, I'm a history buff when it comes to racing, so I'm excited to see the cars on the track because I really didn't pay attention. Well, that was really before the internet and all of that, so I'm not too familiar with the happenings of Pennsboro, other than it was quite a event. You have people sitting on the hillside, spectators sitting on the hillside watching the races and stuff. Everything I've read about it, though, was the racing wasn't very good, though. And I've seen videos, and it just doesn't look like it's a very racy track, but there's a lot of history behind it. And I don't know if you guys have seen on the 2020 Facebook page, but they've been sharing posts on. They're adding guardrails, fencing. They're really doing a lot to that track to get it ready for that one race.
And somebody had some old nostalgic sponsor signs from back in the day that were at the place. And I see Barry got them, and they're going to be up for the race too. So, Barry at XR has been working his ass off to kind of make this happen. He's had a vision. So hopefully it's a success. Do you think I don't know what the fan base is like in the area. Do you foresee a big crowd here, or do you think it's going to be another one of those XR events with a pretty light crowd? And does a big or small crowd really matter to Barry to make this a success? Your thoughts?
I think they're going to have a decent crowd just because of the history behind it. I'm sure Barry's planning on money from the streaming of the race. You're probably going to get quite a few people to stream that race just to see what it's like racing there again.
Yeah, that's one thing a little bit different with XR is they don't do a ton of stuff that's not XR promoted events. So they have to have so many events per year just to make sure they have subscribers. So I don't think they need a big crowd. I foresee them. Hopefully the weather's good. I can foresee them having a pretty good crowd too. Hopefully the racing's good. Hopefully it's supported. I think it's 10, 10, and 30 to win for the late models. I'm a history guy too when it comes to racing, so I'm kind of anxious to see this. I'm a little bit excited. Like you said, the racing, from what we've seen in the past, but let's face it, I mean, we've seen tracks that are terrible one night and great the next night. So prepped properly, the racing can be good. So
Well,
let's just knock on wood on that.
and it will be interesting to see how the racing is different because I mean the racing was always done during the day in the past. So Barry's bringing in temporary lighting, I believe, for this. So we'll see if the track race is any different.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that the week leading into that show, but it's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. That's on XR Plus, so check that out. So let's jump into the pick'ems here. Brought to you by Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solutions. So sponsor of the show, sponsor of the pick'em format here. So if you're a farmer, Western Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and you're looking to be, how can I be more profitable in 2025 than it was in 2024? Well, maybe get some information, get some better stuff in your spray packages. You might feel like, hey, I already got good stuff. I feel like we're doing good. Well, it's worth giving them a call to get the information. Brad's 93542 and learn about what he has to offer. And I know several people that have reached out. They've tried his products, very happy with his products. And I don't have all the data, but he certainly does. So give him a call. That's Brad Parsons, Soil and Ag Solutions. So our standings right now, guys, it's tight. Changa and Curtis right now on top, 405. The old 71A slipped back just a little bit. I'm 6 points back of them guys, still in striking distance, but not a very good week last week. And then it's a really good battle from 4th to about 7th here. Uper's at 336. We got Bert at 334. Worker B at 332. Dano at 330. Coach at 323. You can still get in the mix and get on the podium here. Man Bundan at 317. The newlywed Bromance at 298 and Beefcake at 257. And I want to give a shout out, of course, here to Worker B, to Matt from Amsoil, to Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solution, because them and along with me put some money into this. And whoever wins this deal at the end of the year gets to pick a car to sponsor in 2024. And you just got to make sure to have an extra big sticker on there for Mr. Bill Engelstad because he really likes that. So make sure to have a big sticker.
You mean in 2025?
2025, Bert, you are correct. Yeah, I stand corrected. We're going to sponsor for next year, not this year. All right. So we don't have our pick'ems done because we don't have a race we're picking till Friday. So there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday racing this week. But the races we are picking, of course, we're picking the Dirt Track World Championship, the finale 100-lap A-Main at Eldora for the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series. The World of Outlaw Sprint Cars are going to race Friday and Saturday, not too far away from my home in Joliet, Illinois, Route 66 Speedway down in just south of Chicago, southwest, I guess, of Chicago. And then the Dirt Car, UMP Dirt Car Nationals, a doubleheader at Lincoln Speedway in Illinois. We're going to pick the late models and the modifieds Friday and Saturday night there. And then we're going to pick the Vado Fall Nationals, USRA modifieds down in Vado, New Mexico. And I had to look. I thought it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It is, in fact, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Last year, several of the USMTS contingent were at that race. Really good racing down there. That's at Vado. And then the last race in our area with Wissota cars, not a Wissota event, the Topless at Ogilvie, heats on Friday, features on Saturday. That is, of course, on Dirt Race Central. You're going to want to check that out. We're going to pick late models, modifieds, super stocks, Midwest mods, and street stocks. And we will get our picks once they're posted. I will put a post up for sure on the Facebook page. So for those of you kind of following along here, you can see who we all picked. And if you guys want to put in the comments when we do that, who you think's going to win, hey, why not? Go up against us, see if you're better than us at this. I can tell you, I'm not very good, so you're probably better than me. So, bold predictions. So, because it was a couple weeks, talked to the statistician, and he's like, you know what? I don't quite have everything in front of me because it's been a couple weeks since us slackers did a show. So we don't really have what came off the board. We can look back at that. We'll get that done for next week. And the standings there, we'll take care of that. But we will go over this week's bold predictions to end the show. We'll start with Bert. We'll go to Coach. I have Uper's picks and my own picks. We're going to make 3 bold predictions. We keep track of correct predictions and percentage correct based on how many we pick. And they're racing-related predictions. They either do or do not happen. And again, we're not very good at this. I know that the Uper's kind of kicking our butt, but let's give it a whirl again. First lapper on the track. Bert, what is your first prediction?
I'll go to Eldora and say the podium will have at least 2 non-Lucas regulars on it for the feature.
At least 2 non-Lucas regulars on the podium at Eldora. Okay, Coach.
We're going World of Outlaw sprint cars this weekend, and we are going to go 6 different podium drivers in the 2 races they have this weekend. So I'm going to stick with I like my parity. It's getting a little slim pickings, getting a little tough on that series right now. It's usually kind of the same guys, but we're going to go 6 different drivers podium this weekend in World Outlaw sprint cars.
How are the points looking there? Did Macedo close the gap up a little bit there? How far is Gravel ahead of Macedo?
It's like 77 points, something like that, if I remember correctly.
So not to wish any ill will on Gravel, but I hope he gets a flat both nights and Macedo closes it up. So it's interesting going into Charlotte. Coach, is that what you're seeing, 77 or?
We are at 72.
72.
Okay.
72.
So it's close.
Shots is 158 and Buddy Kofoid's 230.
All right. So first and second, and is that all that's left? Do they have anything in between there? Is it just Route 66 and then the 3 races at Charlotte? Is that it, or is there something in between?
I think that's it.
I'll let Coach take a look there. So while he's looking at that, I got Uper's first prediction. RTJ will end the weekend as champion of the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series for 2024. He's going to seal the deal. RTJ going to be the champ. Coach, what did you find?
We found, what's this weekend? 18th and 19th?
Yep.
They're at Riverside, the 25th and 26th.
Okay, so they still have 5 more after this. So there's still time. Gravel's not been real good lately. He's kind of a little bit off the pace. So Macedo with a big weekend can kind of put himself in contention to make a game of it anyway. See what happens. So Upers was RTJ champ. My first one is going to go Vado Fall Nationals down at Vado Speedway in New Mexico, USRA Modifieds. Jake O'Neill going to win at least 1 of 3 and have at least 2 of the 3 will be on the podium. So he will have at least 1 win and at least 1 additional podium to that on the weekend down in Vado for the 0 of Jake O'Neill. All right, Bert, your second lapper on the track.
I'm going to World of Outlaw sprint cars, and by the time the sprint cars head to Charlotte, Macedo will have cut the lead to under 50. Gravel's lead to under 50 points.
Under 50 after this weekend at Joliet. Okay. All right. Coach?
We're going to Eldora, and I am going to say 2 of the final 4 drivers in the chase will DNF at Eldora.
Wow. Off the record. Which 2?
I am going to go with RTJ and Moran.
Wow. Okay. I kind of have a feeling what your third prediction then is. Moran and RTJ going to DNF, says Coach Cross. All right. But his prediction, of course, was 2 of the 4 DNF. That's his prediction. All right. We're going to go dirt for Uper, his second prediction, Dirt Track World Championship as well. The winner of the A-Main will be a driver that is not in the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Final Four. So the winner will be a non-Lucas top four finisher. I am also going to go to the Dirt Track World Championship, a little parlay here. The combination of Bobby Pierce, Mike Marlar, and Hudson O'Neal will have a better average finish than T-Mac, Devin Moran, and Jonathan Davenport. All right, Bert. Last lap here. Bert Lehman, take it away.
I'm gonna go to Pennsboro and say that the winner of the feature at Pennsboro will start on the front row.
Why do you got to be freaking negative, Bert? What is the deal here? Like, can't you just have a positive comment about something? That is horse shit. All right. All right. I might have a little something for you after that. I might rethink my third prediction here. All right, Coach.
Well, I'm going to Eldora, and sorry to say it, RTJ, but you are going to DNF and lose the title on Saturday at Eldora.
All right. So for all you RTJ lovers, that is Jeff Krause, Crouse, and you can find him on Facebook for all your hate mail. Okay. All right. Uper's third and final prediction. Rocket One will announce a driver's change for the 2025 season at or before the World Finals at Charlotte. So they will announce a driver change for 2025. New driver, T-Mac losing his ride, according to Uper here, and that's going to be announced at or before the World Finals. My third and final prediction going to kind of have to do a curveball here. The winner of Pennsboro will not start on the front row. All right, just to combat Bert in this one, right? Bert's that guy, front row, one lane, shithole. The winner of Pennsboro.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, that's basically what I heard. I don't know about you, Carlos. Is that what you heard? One lane shithole, goat trail, no passing, probably shouldn't even watch. On the other hand, am more positive, okay? The winner's not going to start on the front row. It's going to be more exciting than what Bert thinks.
Well, the last time I did a bold prediction of the winner starting on the front row, it cost me $20.
It did. Do we need to wager this one too, or what? All right, boys. Well, we got that one in the books. So, one last chance. If you're up in Wissota country, right, you got one last chance to get to the racetrack this weekend at Ogilvie, Friday and Saturday for the topless. Keep in mind that's race cars, not women. That part is optional. I mean, I guess some people might enjoy that. I'm just going to say you do your thing, right? But the cars are going to be topless. So check that out. That's your last chance to get to a track in our area. Bert, what do you got? One last thing?
I have one last thing, NASCAR related. I have not watched an Xfinity race all year. I don't think I've watched a single lap. And I was home Saturday afternoon and I was flipping through and I found the Xfinity race. 10 laps to go. Watch to the end. There's a car crashed because they were racing the Roval at Charlotte. So they have the walls of tires. There's a car that crashed underneath the tires. The camera showed the car. The announcers go, "Oh, there's a car under the tires." And then they, for like 10 seconds went by. The leader's coming to the flag stand for the white flag. They give him the white flag and then they throw the yellow immediately and the race is over.
How long did he sit there? How long was the car there?
Had to have been at 20 seconds.
Kraus, that's your favorite thing. Just end on yellow. Right? We don't need to actually. Was there a battle? Was first and second close? Or was it kind of over anyway?
I can't remember the situation. So
That's Coach's
but-
favorite. All races in 2025 at the Viking Speedway are going to end under yellow. It's just a new rule. It is what it is. All right, boys. Well, hey, good to be back, and we'll talk to you guys later. Everybody, I'm Ryan. That's Coach. That's Bert. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review and subscribe. It is Puka. And Goat Sports has another show out there by podcast, Facebook, and YouTube. It's the Tea with Miss McGill show. Covers hockey, high school hockey in northern Minnesota. So if you're into hockey, you can find us on podcast under Tea with Miss McGill. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, Goat Sports Media LLC. Yours truly and Coach Reed Larson. We break it down every week. We also do some interesting interviews. We'd love to have you. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you next week.